part of your day. The rest of it needs to be, building something and protecting yourself from an uncertain future. Because the one thing I really want to add there, Rob, is a healthy fear. A healthy fear that, if what I just described is your life and your ambition, that can go south in a hurry in many, many ways. Some ways that you probably just don't even realize yet. And one of the things I try to do in my other podcast, my investing podcast, is people are at least ambitious enough to listen to the podcast, but that's not really saying much. I have a feeling the majority of people who listen to what I'm saying really aren't taking action, and they pretend to have ambition, but when it comes time for the rubber to hit the road and for them to actually invest in something and protect themselves financially, their real level of ambition comes to the surface, let's just say. So I think fear should be included in there. And I want to know what you think about that. But when I say fear can be many things. Fear of not protecting yourself from an uncertain future. Fear of wasted talent could be a big one. Fear of regret. If you don't try to apply yourself at least early on, just to see, what could happen. What could happen if I max out my stats and max out my skills and really put my mind to something? What could happen? I don't want to be 40, 50, 60 years old and then wonder what might have been. I certainly don't want to be on my deathbed and wonder what might have been. So that's the one I would add. Let me know if you think that's a good one or if you feel that's relevant to this episode, because that's the one thing that was kind of going through my head when I thought about it.
I think that, what you just really went about or described was regret. And I think regret is absolutely a part of ambition. When you get to this future place, how do you want to look back on yourself? And I think that is part of ambition. For me, my self-esteem, how I see myself is so important. Like, I am generous with money. I'm generous with time. I try to do things. And yes, I do like helping people and I do love the effects. But in the end, and I think we've talked about this in a prior podcast, I do it for me because I want to look in the mirror and be like, hey, that guy's generous. That guy's hardworking. That guy's all these things. And I did it. Yes, I love helping other people, but in the end, I did it for me. So yes, I think that regret, that once you are 10 years older, 20 years older, how are you going to look back on yourself today? And are you going to be proud of what you saw? I think that's a huge part of it.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. I can't remember the saying, but it's the people who are the hardest on themselves are the people who generally do better in life. And when I heard that, that was very validating for me, because I'm extremely hard on myself. I feel like I've done a lot of the things that I want to do. I've become financially free. I've helped a lot of people. I'm in good shape for my age, but I still look in the mirror every day. And every once in a while, I'm just like, ugh, you piece of shit. There's so much more you could be doing right now. Look at you. So yeah, that ambition, especially when you get a really good momentum behind it too, it just carries. And it's never, ever a bad thing, in my opinion. And I think that segues really, really well into the cons, because according to Rob Reinhold, there are cons to this ambition. And so we need to point them out, and we need to be very specific about them, because personally, I don't see a lot of downsides to it.
A lot of the episodes we've done have been about these emotions and how they're good and they're bad. We just did one on anger, and we talked about, hey, anger is really a good thing if harnessed in the right way. Ambition is the same way. I'm going to be sharing a lot of my personal experiences, and they may not apply exactly to you. And hopefully, Patrick, you'll be able to share some experiences that might apply to people. But here's the problem with ambition. And again, my ambition was huge. I was not patient, and it led to a get rich quick. Now, if you asked me at the time, Rob, do you think you're going to get rich quick? Of course not. Of course I'm not going to get rich quick. This is going to take years to do. But if you were to get in my thoughts, in my brain, it was just around the corner. It was literally this weekend. That's how close it was. And so that desire, that passion, that ambition really made me really fall into get rich quick. Like, hey, I need to just strike big. I need to over leverage. I need to over position size. I need to do more. I need to trade bigger because I had that ambition to get to these goals and I wanted it to happen now. So I think that's probably one of the biggest problems with ambition is it really leads you to this get rich quick. And I know that that's so gimmicky. That sounds gimmicky. But let's talk about get rich quick. Let's put some actual years on this. Patrick, if I said I'm going to get rich quick, I'm going to get rich quick in the next 10 years. Do you consider that a get rich quick scheme?
10 years? No, I think that's reasonable. Maybe, honestly, 10 years, not totally realistic because you have to make all your mistakes first. And how many years is that going to take before you finally get yourself into that zone to where you can really start making money without screwing up all the time? But yeah, that's such a tough question.
What about 5 years?
Too soon. Yeah, I think this happens a lot with people in their 20s. And by the way, I'm glad you did bring this up. I'm totally wrong. There are drawbacks to being overly ambitious here. Lottery players, I'm sure, are super ambitious people, but they're just going about the wrong way because they want it too quick, just like you're saying. This is a big thing with people in their 20s. They see videos of these absolute outliers that made a bunch of money doing whatever. It was so big during the crypto booms and will come back again. And they're like, that's what I want to be. What's the point of being rich if I can't be rich in my 20s and be able to, to spend it on all these things? Okay, if you want to be that 1 in 7 million that does that, okay, that's great. That's a lot of ambition, just not a lot of common sense. Listen to anybody who's actually done this for a sustained amount of time, on the low, medium, and high levels. They will all tell you the same thing. It takes time, and you have to be okay with that. And the problem is, in the field we're in, Rob, trading, people just don't see it that way because all of the programming they get from the media outlets tells them otherwise. Tells them that they're going to get to where they want to be a lot quicker than they actually are. That's a problem.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. It's just you're going to fall into the get rich quick with a lot of ambition. It's just going to happen. And even though you don't think, oh, I'm going to try to get rich quick, you're still expecting it to happen within a couple years or a couple months. When I was in my 20s, it was definitely a couple months is what it was going to take. I'll talk about that a little bit later because I really want to hammer this point home. But let's get into the next bullet point I have of overwork. So we talked about the pros of work ethic. Here we have overwork. I would have worked 24/7 if I could. And I've told my wife this many times. When we were dating and we were getting serious, and maybe we were even engaged at the time, we talked about potential problems we see in our marriage. And I said to her, oh, I'm worried I'm going to be a workaholic. And she kind of looked at me. Now, look, I was young. I wasn't a workaholic at the time, but now she sees it. I love to work.